Good morning!
So, The Truman Show, a movie about an ordinary guy whose entire life since his birth has been secretly recorded for a TV show watched and beloved by the entire world, starring comedy actor Jim Carrey.
Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
This movie was written and co-produced by Andrew Nicole and directed by Peter Weir. So, for today's video, I decided to take a look at The Truman Show in an existential angle. So, the reason why I chose this movie is that it has an extremely strong and compelling narrative. Not only that, it's a movie with multiple layers and hidden details that encourages multiple viewings. And it is also used a lot in psychological studies. The video structure will go as follows. We will first go through 3 main points of existentialism in the movie in order. Alongside that, I will also comment on certain scenes, camera work, and symbolisms. So, with that, let's dive into our first segments before even starting the movie with Act.
White picket fences, barbed wire and trenches, trick or treat, Merry Christmas, howdy neighbor, thank you Jesus. Oh, what is he building in that dated lady?
So, from the brief synopsis I gave on the movie, it is about a man whose entire life has been secretly recorded for a television show, recorded without consent. And he did not know any of this. This comes to our first main point of the film, even before we even started it. So, facticity. The term facticity essentially means the unchangeable circumstances of a person's existence. For example, their birth, locations, and choices they make. All of which are present within this film. For starters, let's dive into his birth. So, in the movie, the in-universe director of The Truman Show states,
"You're premature by 2 weeks." It was almost as if he couldn't wait to get started.
And of course, his eagerness to leave his mother's womb was the very reason he was the one who was elected.
In competition with 5 other unwanted pregnancies, the casting of a show determined by an air date, Truman was the one who arrived on cue.
showing even before Truman was even an infant, he was already clearly shown to not have any choice or control whatsoever for the circumstances in his life. This is obviously mirroring our own lives. We didn't choose how to be born, who to be born as, and whatnot. So, next up, the location. So, The Truman Show takes place in a suburban town with nice people and a nice great beach to accommodate all of it. But all of it takes place within a massive dome. The exit is separated by a large body of water with harsh storms to ensure Truman has no plans to leave this place. Early on in his life, he and his father went on a fishing trip, but his father had a staged death to traumatize Truman from even thinking about leaving the place in the first place. This gave him a huge phobia of water. Essentially, the entire set location is designed to forever trap Truman to ensure his life will follow a script. Now, for the choices. One way that The Truman Show mentions how they generate revenue in universe is through product placement. But for Truman, because he is the center stage, essentially, he always has to listen and be a part of these product placements, whether he likes it or not. They're filmed really subtly, but the way the camera work was done in the film, as you can see, for example, in this clip here, even though Truman is in frame, what's really the focus point is actually the brand. And sadly, Truman has to deal with this all the time. Happens throughout multiple times in the movie.
All natural cocoa.
He didn't choose to be within product placements, let alone take part in the whole show in the first place, and loops itself back to facticity. But worst of all, and the indirect catalyst for the whole movie, is who he chose his wife to be. So in the movie, we learned that Truman had fallen in love with a random extra woman in his college campus. In truth, he was actually supposed to meet someone else, his current wife, Meryl, who forcefully comes into his life by literally falling for him. He wanted to go with the extra woman, but the script and the entire Truman Show revolved around Truman getting together with Meryl. The way this relates to facticity is that in all these cases, Truman has no control over them. Once again, similar to how we, as people, also do not have true choices in life sometimes. So sadly, when Truman is really close to making a proper full decision out of free will, it will be later taken from him. All these 3 examples show the presence of facticity. So it's clear that he has no control of anything in his life. So Truman is essentially living under fate, destiny. But what if his destiny to keep living a lie wasn't what he wanted? What if he wanted to make a choice? What if he wanted to use free will? What if he wanted self-respecting decisions that help benefit him? Well, that brings us to our next part. Ladies and gents, get ready for Act 2! Authenticity. Within the world of existentialism, authenticity means to live a life driven by self-made choices rather than conforming to social pressure. Within the second act is when Truman fully lets loose in the fact that his world is fake. It's the first real set of scenes where he goes full on crazy with free will. Throughout the movie, Truman's main goal is to go to Fiji, an area of island on the other side of the globe. The reason as for that is because after sneaking out for a beach date with his actual crush, she was taken away by a cast member as they were not scripted to be together, and for the risk she may leak on information to Truman. While taking her away, the man says,
Don't worry. We're going to
See you in
Fiji.
school.
Fiji. We're moving to Fiji.
Fiji.
and throughout the movie, you see him actually attempt to take flights to Fiji, but never do due to the producers and directors controlling everything. After he realizes a lot of the things in his life are formulaic, he then goes on a spontaneous spree to not only prove there's a force stopping him, but also to attempt to head to Fiji. The producers try to take him down, literally. He then goes on the spontaneous episodes, which includes reckless driving, speeding through a bridge with his eyes closed, and his hands off the wheel, driving through fire, running away from cast members, and even threatening his own wife. All of these events were orchestrated by the head producers. The traffic, the fire, and the fake power plant destruction. Up to this point in the movie, alongside that, his wife was by his side through every ordeal, encouraging him not to do anything stupid, but yet he would still persist. Each action would go directly against the producer and the world he lives in. This whole set of sequence marks Truman's final plan, in which he attempts to finally escape. He goes against his entire town, searching and calling for him as he goes on his father's old boat to sail far away as possible. By this point in the movie, it's clear he's changed. He's more sure of himself, making decisions that he wants, very close to being authentic, unlike his own world. So, after the storm clears, is when we finally reach our final part of the video. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Act 3. Abandonment. In existentialism, abandonment means the idea that humans are alone in the universe without a god or any predetermined values to guide them, making them condemned to be free. But how does that relate to the Truman Show? Well, after the storm clears up, Truman's boat crashes onto the wall, the final crack in his life to finally solidify his suspicions if he wasn't suspicious enough for some reason. Before ascending to the staircase nearby, he opens the door into the dark unknown. The director begins directly speaking to Truman. Throughout the Truman Show, they treat their relationship rather parasocially. Truman unable to even comprehend the idea of someone controlling his life, and the director playing God with his own life. By technicality, for Truman, the director is his God when you think about it. He made his fate, placed him in a world where he handcrafted through his own vision. The whole symbolism of the director being God is shown clearly in this scene as Truman stares up to the sky from his own world, the one he's always known, looking down as the director, looking out from his own world, one different from Truman's. Using multiple cuts of Truman and the director facing opposite directions of each other to create an effect similar to that of an over-the-shoulder shot, a very common thing we learn in class, used to make it look like two people are speaking to one another. So, point of abandonment is kind of redundant when you think about it. Abandonment is the idea of there being no God at all for us to be free. But for Truman, he does have a God. That God controls his life. So how could it relate to that? But Truman, the entire movie, has been running away from this thing. This God, this deity, whatever. Even if he didn't know it was actually a person behind the screen, for all he knew, he probably fully believed that maybe it was God himself, an actual one. But his freedom, the true goal of abandonment, drove him forward to this point in the movie. And it drove him to do every single thing he did in the movie. The innate freedom of Truman is what really, really drives this movie. And I would love to explain the next scene, but I believe I can't do it justice. So I'll just like for the clip to play itself.
Talk to me. Say something.
Well, say something, goddammit! You're on television! You're live to the whole world!
with that, Truman is finally free with no more strings attached to his life.
In case I don't see ya, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Yeah.
So, The Truman Show teaches us a lot about existentialism. In fact, I personally believe it is a movie about the journey of a man through existentialism as he goes through multiple stages of existentialism throughout the film. And that makes it really good for me to analyze the film. But funnily enough, if you think about it, it's quite the opposite. Existentialism usually talks about the lack of purpose, the lack of guidance in our lives. But Truman, his whole life is about purpose. His whole life has a guide. His guide is a script. But it's presented in such a way that he didn't want it. It loops back into existentialism. And that's what's one of the best things about the movie. The movie is easily one of my all-time favorites. And I would advise, even if I just said basically the whole ending, I advise you all to watch it at home because it is genuinely one of the greatest movies of all time. In my opinion. But anyways, the different perspectives of the movie definitely made it one of the most fun movies to ever talk about. And I'm really glad I could choose it for my own analysis, as I felt like it was a really strong movie. So to end it off, I don't want to take too long, this video is long enough. I want to go very quickly on one of my favorite aspects, my favorite symbolisms of the film. So in the end, you see Truman walking outside the door. And after that is his last on-screen appearance throughout the entire movie. There's no post-end credit, there's nothing left. And we don't actually know anything. The director, Jim Carrey, has never said what happened to Truman outside the ending. The reason for that is because once he steps outside, he's no longer being watched. Not being watched by the audiences, and not just the in-universe audience, but us, the real-life audience too. And that's what really made the movie really good. And we won't ever know what happened to him. He could just die on the spot. He could have just lived a long, happy life. And we won't ever know. And I think that's okay. So with that, thank you all for watching my own analysis of The Truman Show and the Existential Angle. Thanks for watching.
In case I don't see ya, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.